Okay, so we are going to talk about the types of short stories that we're going to read in class. And this is going to be a nonfiction unit. So we're going to focus on biography, autobiography, and memoir. So I just wanted to give you a quick tutorial on what the differences between these three things are. So first we're going to talk about what is nonfiction. And nonfiction in general is just writing about things that are places or things or people that are real. So it's going to look at lives, places, things, events, and ideas that have actually occurred. So the most popular types of nonfiction are biographies, autobiographies, memoirs. Those are the big three that we're going to look at. Essays, speeches, and informal text. So some of the favorite types of nonfiction are biographies, self-help books, autobiographies, newspaper, magazine, and internet articles like the ones that we're doing on Achieve 3000, eyewitness accounts of newsworthy events, essays, and memoirs. So the purpose of nonfiction is to entertain readers. It teaches readers by providing information, explanation, or instruction. A lot of nonfiction is biographies or autobiographies of presidents' lives, and they want to teach people or explain why they made the decisions that they did. It is also to persuade readers to understand a particular viewpoint. Again, with a president's biography or autobiography, it would be to give their perspective on the decisions that were made during their term in office. To offer readers advice, so this would be like self-help, and to present snapshots of different life experiences for readers. So, biography, autobiography, and memoir, the big three. There are many different types of nonfiction. Those three tend to be favorites among preteens and teens. And the most popular books dealing with autobiography, biography, and memoir are books about athletes, entertainers and recording artists, adventurers, so people who live adventurous lives, and historical and political figures. So the first type of nonfiction that we are going to look at is biography. You may want to jot some notes down because I would like for you to know the difference between biography, autobiography, and memoir. It's going to come up again and again and again. So a biography is the story of a person's life told by another person. It would be like me coming over to your house and watching you in your life and having you explain it to me for a few years, and then I go back to my house and I write about your life story. Biographies are often written about well-known people. Biographies can also be written about little-known people who have done interesting things in their lives. So it's really meant to be to show differences between normal, quote-unquote, normal people and those people who have a little bit more interesting life. In all cases, biographers must select the best details to explain what is remarkable about their subjects. So we are going to look at, aside from characteristics or life experiences, what might make a person an interesting subject of a biography. We talked about this in class, and some of the most interesting things were if they have overcome struggles, if they have endured hardship in their life, if they have interesting things that happen to them. Those are the sorts of things that interest people and make people want to read about the lives of other people. So an example of a biography was written by Walter Dean Myers, and he is a current writer. So when we're talking about the slave ships of Africa and slavery, we know that Walter Dean Myers did not live during this time, but that he was writing about somebody that he researched. And this person's name is Ibrahima. So the story: Ibrahima was inspected on the shore, then put into irons and herded into a small boat that took him out to a ship that was larger than any he had ever seen. The ship onto which Ibrahima was taken was already crowded with black captives. Some shook in fear, others, still tied, fought by hurling their bodies at their captors. The beating and the killing continued until the ones who were left knew that their lot was hopeless. So this is from Abda al-Rahman Ibrahima by Walter Dean Myers, and this is an example of a biography. So the next two nonfiction that we're going to look at are autobiography and memoir, and they are really very connected, so they have a lot of things in common, and so I want to tell you the nuances or the little pieces that are different, so that way you can tell them apart. An autobiography is the story of a person's life written by that person, so it would be like me writing my story written by me. So it's a written account that includes all or most of the significant experiences in the individual's life. So it would be like me writing about my whole life story from the time I can remember or from birth until present time. A memoir is also the story of a person's life written by that person. So it would be like me writing my own story down again. However, this written account takes extracts or focuses on one or more significant experiences of the individual's life. So it would be like me picking and choosing the experiences that shaped my life. You're not going to get the whole story, but you're going to get the big major pieces. So the organization is also a little different between autobiographies and memoirs. So like biographies, autobiographies typically follow chronological order. That means they go right in time order, okay? So they're going to start from the beginning of a life and go to the end of life, okay? Memoirs, however, may be less structured and less organized. So they often use two sets of strategies to kind of interrupt time. So flashbacks are the first. They interrupt the time sequence and present events that occurred in the past. Okay, so this goes into the past and talks about things that happen. When we see flashbacks in movies, a lot of time it gets shimmery and it goes either like the color goes out and it's in black and white. They kind of do something to distinguish that this is the past, that it is different. Okay, so this will occur in memoirs. They can also flash forward, which is called foreshadowing. And it provides clues to events that will occur in the future or later on in the story. So it gives clues about what's going to happen in the future. So an example of an autobiography is from Carmen Tafoya, and it's in her autobiography, Mi Familia. And she flashes back to a time before she was born to explain who she is. So she's obviously heard stories about her ancestors. So my roots in New Mexico go back for centuries. Españoles arrived in the 17th century to Indios Parientes already there. The move to Texas happened between 1848 and 1865. A few wars got in the way, causing strange demographic reshuffles. My great-great-grandmother was already there and had a seamstress shop in downtown San Antonio. My great-grandmother washed clothes in the San Antonio River. She later married two, one at a time, Confederate veterans. This is by Carmen Tafoya from Mi Familia, and it goes into the stories that she has heard about her history. An example of a memoir is going to be The Story of the Jacket by Gary Soto, and it describes just a few short years of his childhood. And he feels like these years were affected by this ugly green jacket that he had to wear at the time. And this example, in the memoir example, we're going to keep track of the major events on a timeline, so that way we can see how things kind of add on. So, the timeline that outlines the events. First, Gary tells his mother that he wants a black leather biker jacket. Instead, Gary's mother buys him an ugly green jacket that is way too big. And the first thing that happens is that Gary's dog rips a big L-shaped tear in the jacket sleeve, and he is forced to wear this jacket to school, and he gets a D on his math test. So later, as he keeps going to school, he keeps getting bad grades and no girls like him, and he blames this ugly green jacket. So as he becomes older and older, the jacket becomes too small, the rip in the sleeve gets bigger, And finally, he cries to his mom that he needs a new jacket, and she shuts him down and tells him no. And at the very end, Gary accepts and even learns to like his jacket. Or he accepts it, he does not like it, and so he grudgingly kind of keeps it with him. At the end of this story, he is sitting on a fence, and he's taken the jacket off and draped it over the fence, and he forgets it on the fence, and he comes back and picks it up. So he most definitely feels like this jacket is a part of him now. So we're not going to outline any autobiography, but maybe in the future we will look at, when we look at autobiographies, we'll kind of sequence out the time. So to summarize, biography, autobiography, and memoir. So whether you're reading any of them, you are going to be finding out more information about a person's life, you're going to learn more about the character and what makes them them, and you're going to gain insight into yourself and the world around you.